Now we come up to the four children. Technically speaking, the four sons. Hello there. Hello, Moshe, Reb Gabriel Asher, Reb Shepsel, studying in memory of Don. And you have another yahrzeit tonight, Sam? This yahrzeit is for whom? Oh, you told me, Sam once gave me the highest compliment. Yeah. Thank you, Sam. And your mother, Sam once told me that his mother would have liked me. So when somebody says that to me, that's the highest possible compliment you could ever give me, Shepsel. So, Shepsel, what is your mother's Hebrew name?
That's my Nasia Bas Simon.
Nasia Bas Simon. We're studying tonight in her memory. So, Gabriel Asher. You see, I want you to share our videos. If you just share them with your family chat, they'll go viral. All right, he's one of 15, Gabriel Asher. Yeah. Baruch Hashem. He doesn't talk about it. He probably only said it because I asked him. He probably doesn't talk about it. Okay, we learn in the okay, anyway. So now it says in the Haggadah, Kineged Arba Banim Dibra Torah. The Torah speaks corresponding to four children. This is the four children. One is wise, one is wicked, one is the simple, and one is the one who doesn't know how to ask. These are the four children who the Torah speaks to. Torah really should speak to more children than that. So this is the paradigm. So how do we know this? So how do we know that the Torah speaks to four children? Because so we know that there are 4 places in the Torah where it says ben. So from here we see that the Torah speaks to 4 children. 4 times a child asks. And also the world was created with the 4 character traits of man. And corresponding to this, the Torah gives their answers. This is from the Midrash Seichel Tov. And so the author of the Haggadah is telling us that all these verses that refer to a child asking were not extra. Every one of them was speaking to a specific question. So the Haggadah, well, Shimurim, that was the name of the Haggadah. He writes that before the Baal Haggadah wants to expound on the passage of my father was Arami Oved Avi, he began to explain a very great matter, which relates to the foundation of Torah mitzvos. Meaning to say, because why is this mitzvah of the Exodus so important? And so therefore, he says, you need to be able to explain to your son when they ask you why it's different from all the other mitzvahs. And also, why does the Torah write it again and again and again? Because it says 3 passages in Bo and then another passage in Eschanan. So before we go into it, we have to be able to answer to our children why we're there that night. We have to be able to just answer the basic question, like, what are we doing here? And the children often ask the most simple questions, but also the best questions. Once we get older, we lose the forest in the trees, and we forget to ask the most basic questions. So often in my life, like it's the simplest questions that stump me. Yeah, because the complicated questions we could come up with an answer, but it's the simplest questions. Like, for example, Jerry just has a very simple question: why don't we say a bracha before the Magid? A very simple question, and we're sitting here talking all the ideas, but it's the simplest question, which we should have an answer for. So, okay. So the Trumas Hadeshin writes that it says banim and not people, because it always says in these 4 verses it says the word ben. He got it to ki shalcha bincha machar le'mor. When your son will say bincha. And also, why are we call them banim? The Torah speaks to it's 4 sons. Why doesn't it say 4 people? Also because the sons, when they're young, they don't know as much. And so therefore, that's why it's asking. But the children of Israel are also called banim. Where are the children of Israel called banim? In Deuteronomy, it's chapter 14. It says, banim atem Hashem elkechem. You're children of God. So it's an expression of love. Expression of love. So basically, we're reminding ourselves that on Seder night that we're like a child to God. And their parent, I'm going to give you a secret, a parent, even if their child has disappointed them many times, they have a soft spot. I've seen this so many times in my rabbinate that a child is just a total zero, and the parent just can't turn them away, can't do what needs to be done. It's not necessarily healthy. The parent a father has impossible to say no. Maybe they can, but very hard. So that's what we say on Seder night. We are like children to God. This is what we say on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, especially on Yom Kippur. We say, we are your sons, God. We are your children, God. Okay. So the Brisker Rebbe asked the following question. Not the Brisker Rebbe. Reb Chaim of Brisk asked the following question. What's the connection between Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Shanasan Torah Amo Yisrael, blessed be God, blessed be the one who gave the Torah to Israel, and the four sons the Torah speaks to? And he explains that by the wisdom of the world, the levels of learning, like you go to school, you have different levels. You got a middle school, high school, college, if you're really smart, master's, PhD, postdoc. There are different levels. And you go up and more. But the Torah is not like that. The same chumash with which a child begins. Oh, is that Aaron? Beautiful. Back for more. We love that, Aaron.
Of course.
We love that. The same child the same chumash with which a child begins, that same chumash, Reb Chaim of Brisk learns, the Netziv learns, the Chafetz Chaim learns, the Vilna Gaon learns. We're both learning the same text, and everybody understands it according to his level. And that's what the Baal Haggadah says, that every one of us just has to do what our level is. And that shows the greatness of God. Blessed is God, because God could speak to each of us. It's the same text. That's the genius of this, also of the author of the Haggadah. Haggadah is such an unbelievable work that it's accessible to so many people over so many generations, and it speaks to people. You know how hard it is to find a book that everybody around the table could sit down and it relates to everyone? Okay, I know what you're going to say. There's a nunnik at every Seder who says they're not interested, but overwhelmingly, people are interested. People are engaged in the Seder. They find it interesting. And every year, we're reading the same book. Can you imagine watching the same movie every year on the same day, or even reading the same book over and over and over again? Some people could do it, but to have everybody in the Chevra doing it, this is a work of genius. That's what Reb Chaim of Brisk says. It shows the genius of God. That's why he's blessed. A beautiful shot from Reb Chaim of Brisk. So now it says, this is the Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tam, Echad Sheinu Yidei Lishol. One is wise, one is wicked. By the way, what's the opposite of wise?
Simple.
Or stupid, right? Or maybe simple, but the opposite of wise is not wicked. And what's the opposite of one who doesn't know how to ask? It's not
Shy.
It's not wicked, right? It's not wicked. So they're not opposites. So the Abudram writes, the verse that refers to the Chacham in the Torah comes from Parshas Eschanan, whereas the verses that refers to the other children are written in Parshas Bo. The Rasha is in Exodus. Exodus chapter 12, verse 26, and the time is 13:14. And the Sheinu Yodei Elishol, he says, is in chapter 13, verse 8. So why didn't the author of the Haggadah write the verses in the order in which they appear in the Torah? So the Abudram answers that the author of the Haggadah mentions them according to their wisdom. First the wise one, and then the wicked one, because the wicked one is also wise, but he's not. He knows everything, but he's just his heart is off, and that's why he's acting with rebelliousness. And afterwards, the simple one, he's not actually wise, but he has a little bit of wisdom. He has enough wisdom to ask. And then we come to the one who doesn't even know what to ask. He has no wisdom at all. Okay, so Jerry has a question.
Yes, you you pointed out that the wicked son is mentioned in the Torah in Bereshit.
No, in Shemot, chapter 12, verse
Or
26.
in Shemot. Okay. What can you tell us? Who are they? Who is the Torah referring to in Shemot that he's wicked?
It says there, when your son will say to you, does anybody mind bringing me a chumash from over there? No, right. But it says in the Haggadah, Ma avodah zot lachem. That's what he says. What is this service? Right there, Gabriel Usher. No, one to the left. Right there, to the left. Look down to, right there, right in front of you. Yeah, should see the red. So he says, what is this service to you? Ma avodah zot lachem. So, Yomu benchem one more. When your sons, let me open up the exact verse, chapter 12, verse 26, from the book of Exodus. Here it is. Let's see. It was chapter 12. We just read this 2 weeks ago. It says it right here. It says, when your children will say to you, that's what the Dudai Reuven pointed out, that he's not asking, he's saying, what is this service to you? So that's the wicked, the Haggadah attributes that to the wicked son's question. Of course, if I would be so happy if anybody here asked that question. I mean, doesn't on its face of it, doesn't necessarily have to be wicked, but the Haggadah interprets it as wicked. And afterwards, okay, back to the commentary I'm reading, and afterwards comes a simple son who's not actually wise, but he has a little bit of wisdom. Okay. In the Shibbolei Aleket, he says that why do they put the wise son first in the Haggadah? Because first you should start with wisdom. And you put the one who doesn't know how to ask at the end, because we're going to give him the answer. Because because it says you should open up for your children. It says the one who doesn't know how to ask, at the end of it, you say, right, you answer him. So, and afterwards we begin the beginning of this story of the Avadim Ayinu. Another question is, you put the one who doesn't know how to ask last, because whatever you say to him is brand new. And so therefore, I guess it's going to be the most dramatic. And you put the Chacham first and then the Rasha, because I guess, it's not 100% clear why, but I guess it makes sense to put the Sheni Udei Elisha which last, because for him everything is new and he's going to just be like staring at it with open eyes. So that's that approach. Now we see there's a lot of commentary about what is the purpose of having these 4 children in the Haggadah. It's always been one of my favorite parts of the Haggadah, but also it's always, just speaking personally, struck me as harsh, categorizing a child as wise, even wise, or wicked. It's such a harsh thing to do, or a simple, devastating. Can you imagine being called simple? But simple could also be a compliment. Jacob is called a Tam. Rabbeinu Tam, the greatest of all the Talmudic minds, of all the Tosafists, is called Rabbeinu Tam. So Tam is, but still on its face, it seems very, very harsh. So the Rashbats writes that the aspect of the 4 children is that it's known that those who entered, when we enter into the Pardes, to come to a deeper understanding of God, there's different ways to study. There's some people who study properly, and they're called the one who goes in peace and exits in peace. That was Rabbi Akiva. So they're called the wise one. There are some who start to study, and then when they start to study, they mess up. Remember, we discussed this passage yesterday. And that was either Ben Zoma or Ben Azai. There's a difference of opinion which one between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi, and that's called one who chops at the mekatis benetios, meaning to say cut down the saplings. he lost all his wisdom. So there's different types of people who enter into studies. Then there's the simple son, because there's somebody who comes in and he can't complete it because it's too deep for him. And that's the one, that's Ben Azai in the Bible. He looked at it and he died. He couldn't, the simple one is corresponding to that, somebody who's just not able to grasp what's going on at all. And then there's the one who just doesn't even know how to ask, and that was Ben Zoma. He was Hitzitz v'nifga. He looked at it and he went insane, and he became unable to ask. So the Rashbat says that this relates to that midrash of the Gemara and Chagiga that talks about the arba shenechnasu pardes, the four that entered into the pardes. The midrash Rabbeinu David Anagid writes that these four sons, they're an example of the four things that a person has. The wisdom corresponds to the Yetzer Tov, our good inclination. The wicked one obviously corresponds to the Yetzer Hara. The Tam corresponds to the hey, come on in, Elon, grab a seat. Baruch Hashem. We're doing the Haggadah. We're doing the Haggadah. We're doing the Haggadah, of course. Haggadah. Okay, and then the Tam corresponds to like whatever makes up our body. And then the one who doesn't know what to ask, this corresponds to the whims. If a person doesn't know the purpose of your whims, you don't even know what to ask. So this corresponds to different aspects of our body. The good inclination, the bad inclination, if you don't know how to use your whims, and the body itself, which only knows how to work via the soul. Powerful explanations. Okay, so there are basically, even though we divide into four children, hello, Rebbe Eliezer, we're doing the Haggadah, yeah. So even though we divided the children into four, there are really two types of children. What are the two types? One is wisdom and one is seichel. So wisdom, the chacham, you can either use it for good or for bad. Using it for good is the wise son in the Haggadah, or for bad, that's the Rasha. Seichel is you want to know what to do. That's the Tam. Or you're not interested in knowing what to do, and that's the one who doesn't know how to ask. So one is curiosity. One is, I guess, are you curious or not? And one is, are you using your wisdom for good or for bad? The Barbanel writes, very important, that the wise son is not the opposite of the wicked son. And the simple one is not the opposite of the one who doesn't know how to ask. Each son has two possibilities. Either he'll ask or not. And if he'll ask, there's three ways. He'll ask to show his wisdom, or he'll ask because he doesn't believe, and he'll try to cause problems. And the third way is, since he doesn't know anything, he'll ask because he doesn't know anything. And these are the four children. The wise one asks to show off his wisdom. So Barbanel does not like the wise son. He's only asking to show off his wisdom. The wicked one asks to cause problems. The simple one asks because he doesn't know. And the one who doesn't know how to ask even doesn't know how to ask. He doesn't ask at all. So according to the Barbanel, who's the best son here? The simple one. This wise one is asking just to show off. The wicked one is asking to cause problems. Only the simple one is genuinely asking. And literally, if I had to ask you, which of these four would you want to hang out with the most? It's probably the simple one, right? Who would you want to have a beer with out of these four? You know that whole question, what? Who would you want to have a beer with?
Milkshake.
Or milkshake with, thank you, better way to say it. Which one of these four would you want to have a milkshake with? Which one of these ones? What were you saying, Gabriel Asher? What are you saying?
Yeah, probably with Tom.
According to the Barbanel's reading, it would be the simple son, the Tom, because he's curious, he's engaged, he's genuinely interested. Nobody wants to hang out with a guy who just wants to hear himself show how smart he is.
Maybe the shame of the day of the show.
Well, but the shame of the day of the show, I mean, I don't want to cut you off. What we're gonna say?
Because then you get to all the talk. He's not going to type.
Yeah, but it's so boring hanging out with a person who's not curious at all, right? It's completely like one of the worst things to hang out with somebody who's just dull. He's like not interested in growth at all. What do you need? You need the tissues? And what?
along those lines, it would be the wicked stuff.
But the wicked, he's a nunnik, right? Yeah,
You wouldn't necessarily enjoy it, but it'd be a good learning. experience.
yeah, you wouldn't mind like hanging out with a jerk, but you don't want to hang out with a jerk. Right?
Unless you could maybe,
No, you always feel bad. After a jerk, you always feel bad. You never feel good after you hang out with a jerk. You might think you're gonna feel good in advance, but afterwards you never feel good about it. I'm sorry?
No. It says here. Reb Tzvi Elimelech.
Oh, Reb Tzvi Elimelech, that's the Dinaver, that's the Bnei Yissaschar.
He said,
Where are you reading from?
this Hasidic
Beautiful, let me hear.
would pass through the streets of the city to see how the common people conduct this Siddur. Passing by one house, he had a simple Jew intoning one wise, one wicked, one prolonging the pronunciation.
No, he was saying it like, I don't mean to cut you off, he's saying it like God.
As in the recitation of the Shema. Rav Tzvi Elimelech commented, he transforms all the four sons into the Shema, even the wicked one is permeated with God's oneness.
Echad Russia. So everyone has God in them. See, that's the nephew of Reb Elimelech, Reb Tzvi Elimelech, the Bnei Yissaschar. What a beautiful answer. Yasher koach to Aviva for sharing the beautiful explanation. Did you hear that, Shimon and Jerry? I don't know if you heard it, so I'll repeat it. That Reb Tzvi Elimelech, who was the Bnei Yissaschar, he was walking through the streets of Dinav, the Dinaver Rebbe, and he heard that there was a simple Jew reciting these things. He was saying, Echad Chacham, like we recite the Shema, elongating the Ches. And he said, when he heard this, oh, even the wicked one is suffused with God. All of the children have God in them. All of the children have God. You're gonna have to write that down. That might become a YouTube short. Wow. That might make it into a YouTube short. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Elon? You're raising your hand? Yeah, I thought you were raising your hand.
You have to see.
No, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to say. You have to say. Okay, so the Gra writes. The Gra, by the way, I just to give you a idea, we're on page 402 in this Haggadah, and there's 900 pages. So basically, and we started with this commentary on page 300. Basically, we could study this Haggadah for the rest of our lives. So the Vilna Gaon writes that the Chacham is a Torah scholar, and his opposite, what's the opposite of the Chacham? What? The Vilna Gaon says the opposite of the Torah scholar is the one who doesn't know how to ask. He doesn't even show any curiosity to ask. What's the opposite of the wicked? The Tom, the simple one. The simple one. The simple one. He walks with purity before God as opposed to the wicked one. So that's the Vilna Gaon. These are beautiful explanations, just beautiful. Shep, so which one, since we're studying in memory of your mother, which one do you think would have been your mother's favorite? Your mother would have loved the Tom. Why is that?
she was curious about the whole world. What people believed, what they thought was important, what they thought was good for them and good for others. And she was just curious where people came from.
Beautiful.
She would just start asking, she open questions.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so the Haggadah's Maritab explains that Chacham, why does it say the Chacham and not the Tzaddik? It says the wise one, doesn't say the Tzaddik. Because in order, this is a little, you might like this one, boys. Because in order to defeat the wicked one, it's not enough to be a Tzaddik. You also have to be a Chacham. The wicked one is our enemy, he's saying, according to him. Like Olam Ye Adam Arum B'Yira, like and sometimes we know this unfortunate reality in our lives today. We see people who are trying to destroy us. So in order to defeat the wicked one, you need to be a little wise. You have to know how to defeat him. Are you trying to ask something, Jerry?
Before you close to daven mincha, I would like you to raise your 800, show me your 800-page Haggadah. I just can't,
Can you see this right here?
yeah,
It's
wow,
more than 800 pages. It's actually 950 pages.
wow. And it's
It's
called,
geschmack. This Haggadah is amazing, by the way. I love it so much.
yeah, wow.
Yeah. Okay,
Uh,
let's stop a minute now.
Is there an English does every page